Let's get ready to rumble!
ZingerNation jam-packed show today. Peloton up 5%.
What's up, disciplined investor?
We got Benzinga CEO Jason Raznick here with us.
The man, the myth, the legend, Tom Nash.
Peter Schiff on the Power Hour with us live today.
Interesting, different, unique, innovative companies.
Mia, you are live with us on the Power Hour. What's up?
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Jessica Billingsley, that is the CEO of Akerna.
The best trade idea resource out there. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Woo! What's up? It's Tuesday. See Born to Be in the chat. I see Master of Stonks in the chat. What is going on, guys? This is the Power Hour. This is the Trade Idea Show, so we are going to dive straight into it. We've got a handful of good interviews for you today, including a follow-up with Quipt Home Medical. Company just put out earnings on Monday, so we'll be rolling into that in just a few minutes here. But right out of the top of the show, I think let's hit it with some ideas. Let's look at some of these stocks that are moving. I'm going to start off by going ahead and sharing my screen, and I'm going to go to my trusty Benzinga Pro. Okay, that's where we're starting it off today. We're looking at a list of the biggest gainers and losers of today's trading session. What do we see back at the top of the list? Ticker TKAT. NFT play. The NFT trade is back on. The Chinese education trade is back on. Look at that one, ticker EDU. A lot of these high flyers, a lot of these runners that have been left in the dust weren't getting some love. They are absolutely moving today. So let's pivot from what we already know and what we see that's happening over to the idea side of things, guys. NFT stocks. Go ahead in the chat. Start dropping in what some of these NFT stocks were, like our HOFVs, etc. Drop those NFT stocks into the chat. If there are laggards and you see if something like a 50% price movement on ticker TKAT, those laggards might have room to catch up. All right. And I see somebody's asking what's up with DD. Though all of the Chinese stocks are going today. Like if we go ahead and we click over to this one, ticker EDU Echo Delta Ukulele, maybe. It's having a little bit of a day. I mean, here's a 1-year chart of the thing. It's still ugly chart. But it is up 26%, which again pulls me back to our point. Guys, a lot of these stocks that were high flyers that fell out of favor a little bit are getting their run today. Opportunity could be if you have stocks that were previously high flyers, they're not rocking and rolling yet today. You could potentially give them a go on a day or a swing trade and see if you can get some action going on there. And shout out to SWW in the chat. He is dropping in a handful of the other NFT plays. He's got BBIG in there, which we also see on our list of the biggest gainers today. Vinco Ventures. He has GMER, and then YVR. That was absolutely another one. I threw out another HOFV, Hall of Fame Resorts. Again, guys, the idea with this trade would be we have some high flyers. If there's ones that aren't moving yet, there could be a chance to scoop them up and try to take them on a day or a swing trade. And big shout out to Jay Towers in the chat saying, "What's up, Luke? Got to hit that like, y'all." Absolutely agree. On your YouTube, there's a little thumb button. It's probably gray. Press it, turn it blue. The blue is more aesthetic than the gray. I am telling you that, guys. So yes, and I see somebody speculating about crypto rotating into the Chinese stocks today. The China trade is definitely on. If we go ahead and we pull up a JD.com, we had the company report earnings, and then several analysts came out in support of the stock. I think that's what's leading the way today for the Chinese names, getting some energy into all of those. I'm just going to pull a quick chart of Alibaba, because that was one that we had just talked about yesterday. The general sentiment of the room yesterday on Baba was that we should stay away until we see some sort of a bounce. If we go ahead and we make this chart a little bit bigger here on Baba, check it out. You do have a gap fill here right? But now you actually have, we're running into the range where the stock traded. So it filled the gap. We're running into the range where the stock had previously traded, and we've run into a little bit of trouble there. So my warning on Baba a little bit is still to stay cautious. I don't know if producer AB is out there yet, but if he is, let's get a read on Baba.
What is up, Luke? Yeah,
What's going
still
on, baby?
waiting on those jerseys to come in from Alibaba. I actually, if you guys were watching Get Technical yesterday, I was talking about how I had an open call on Baba at a 175 strike price. Yeah, thank you, Shelly. Did recall it again? Yeah, I did. Not too bad. But Luke, I have another stock on my radar right now that I bet you haven't heard a lot about recently. This was
all right.
stock.
So before we hop to that one, we got some additional good NFT tickers in the chat. So let's make sure that we call those out. We got Bradley coming in with DLPN. That's Dolphin Entertainment. Definitely an NFT trade. Kira with Playboy PLBY. Mark with Funko. JFIN. I don't know that one, but potentially an NFT play as well. And again, guys, the idea on the trade here is that when you've got one running away, going crazy, the others haven't moved yet, you could pick it up for a nice day or swing trade. But all right, AB, I always like new stocks that I'm not thinking about. You have one for us. Let's hear it.
Well, this isn't a new stock. We talked about it a lot in about December and January. The stock actually ran up more than $100. It's currently trading around $21 a share. It's just been an ugly chart, been beat up.
Wait, hold on. Let me try to guess.
I'm going to let you try to guess. So this was back when all the, we had like EVs going crazy. That's a hint right there.
Okay. EVs are going crazy. It ran to 100. Now it's at 21. Give me an Xpeng.
Nope, not Xpeng.
Give me a CCIV. Lucid.
Oh, that's a good guess, though. I don't think we ever got that high with Lucid Motors. I think about.
If anybody has the high in Lucid handy, drop that in. I'm sort of curious.
I think it's about $60.
60 was the high. Some other guesses in the chat. You've got a QS.
Ding.
QS. All right. There it is.
Yep. I have my eye on QS right now. I don't have any position. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do actually have a few shares.
There's some other good guesses in there too.
I know. We should look at some of these stocks that have just gotten beaten up.
But you know what mine is? That I'm still not like throwing out the bull flag in, but it's ticker LOTZ. Car lots.
Yeah.
And that stock has fallen so out of favor. But
I know.
I cut you off. Keep going on ticker QS.
So if you go out to the chart, we're looking at the year chart here. I think if we can see that sustained downtrend, even from the huge drop off, the stock went from about 60 down to 40, and then now all the way down to 20. And it seems like it's kind of finding a range here. And if I see this bottom start to round out, and we get a few more green candles in a row, I think it becomes very attractive as a maybe just a little swing trade. And like I said, I do have a few shares of QuantumScape in my long-term portfolio. But right now I don't have any like open trades on this per se. So again, I'm just kind of waiting on the sideline right now, but I like stocks like this that have gotten beaten down and then they find a range where they're consolidating. And then you can basically bet that it's going to go back up. I'm not saying this could go back up to 120 or whatever it hit. But I think we could easily see this run from $21 back up to 40, from now until probably 6 months from now.
I like the EV energy trade. So something that we've been talking about on this show for quite a while is like there's always one group that gets crazy energy. Like we think back in the day, it was 3D printers. There's always something that gets going throughout the past year. We had the reopening, we had the close down trade, then we had the reopening trade, then we had the EV trade, then we had the crypto trade, then we had the NFT trade. And we sort of been hanging out without one of these like amazingly hot trends where everybody is getting into these stocks. And my speculation has been that it could be EV again. I also think that it could be the Chinese stocks. Everybody on the show hates when I bring up Chinese stocks. I'm not anti-American. I'm just trying to make some money on some trades here, okay? But I think that your QS, if the energy does go back into EV and that becomes a hot market theme again, I think that QS is interesting.
Yeah, and on that theme, that's kind of what we saw with the NFT trades. A few months ago when NFTs really took off, we saw all these companies. We mentioned them earlier, whether it's Dolphin, whether it's HOFV, whether it's TCAT, all run. And then we saw the hype around NFTs kind of die off for a few months, and then now they're coming back with a vengeance.
Maybe that's the trade. Is we should just buy. All right, let's do this tomorrow. Let's do a little bit of research and have the discussion on the NFT stock basket. And if so, maybe we just again build that basket. We're not trying to pick one, but we own like all 10 of the NFT stocks in a small way. And see if we get some lift off on that basket.
Well, yeah, real quick before we get to our first guest, Luke, what's interesting to me is that, so this is kind of the second surge of popularity in NFTs.
Absolutely.
And on this wave, the NFTs themselves are selling for a lot more than they were back in, January or February, whenever NFTs first hit the scene.
And the stocks haven't been nearly as hot.
Have not been nearly as hot. You knew where I was going with that. So that's interesting to me that like these NFTs themselves are selling much higher, but the stocks are not. So maybe the NFTs are being a leading indicator for the stocks. I'm not saying that's for sure it. I'm just saying that's a thesis that's floating around in my head right now.
I think it's fair. And again, that's why when we start the show today, we say, okay, we have TCAT up 50%. The other NFT stocks aren't trading in line. I think some of those other NFT trades are great for a day or swing trade. Give it a little bit of a run.
Yeah, 100%. Luke, maybe we even make some of these trades before market close today in case we see these stocks running again tomorrow. Saif in the chat saying AEHR for an EV trade. Stick around because at 12:45, we're going to have Ben from Story Trading, who originally pitched us the stock, back on the show to do a follow-up on AEHR as well as SMSI. So
that's what I'm talking about, baby. This is the Trade Idea Show. This is no Spencer Israel, boring CNBC. We're just jumping straight to the ideas. And with that, I think it's time for us, producer AB, to pivot over to our first guest. We're going to be talking Quipt Home Medical. Second time that we've had CEO Greg Crawford come on to this show. Company just had earnings out recently, so let's go ahead and bring Greg on. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And let's dive into it in just a second here, but a couple things first, guys. Ticker is QIPT. That's Quebec, India, Papa Tango. And Greg, before I start diving into some of the recent things that have been going on with you guys, for anybody who missed your previous segment on the show, could you just give us a little bit of background on the company?
Yeah, so sure. So Quipt is a full service durable medical equipment company. We specialize in placing respiratory devices in patients' home and also providing clinical services for those devices.
Okay. And it's focused on respiratory, correct?
Yes, primarily. We're about 80% respiratory.
And let me ask you one more on background. Is the plan to stay respiratory and just own that market, or is it to diversify outside of respiratory, or what does that look like down the road?
Yeah, so we've really carved out a niche in the marketplace for us. So I see us in the near and medium term, and that definitely stand in the respiratory and also the complementary durable medical equipment products that go along with the respiratory products.
Okay. And let's go ahead and let me add my trusty Benzinga Pro to the screen here. Let's look at this earnings report. You guys just put out your earnings press release on Monday, the 23rd. So what is that? That's like a day ago. Slow week for me. But let's start off with the top line numbers. So you guys posted revenue 26.2 million, 40% increase on a year-over-year basis. Can you tell us a little bit about that number? And if I recall correctly from when we last spoke, it seems like one of the things that was really interesting is you guys were on an acquisition spree. So if you could just talk about that number and then address the strategy a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. In that, so this is a very highly fragmented market. So part of our growth strategy in that is adding additional acquisitions, but we're also growing organically, and that we're up about 11% in that this year organically. But we've got a 3-tier approach in that to our acquisition strategy, and that we're looking for sub $5 million companies. Right now, we're operating in one of the best regulatory environments that we've been in well over a decade. So we feel this is a prime opportunity in that for national expansion. The second is turnkey respiratory companies in that $5 to $20 million range. That's kind of right in our wheelhouse. But also at the same time, there's much larger acquisitions from a revenue standpoint that would be more material in that and adding EBITDA. We feel with our pristine balance sheet, we've got over $33 million in cash. We've got a $20 million untapped bank line that we'd be able to take down one of these and make a more transformative type acquisition.
Okay. With regard to the first couple types of acquisitions that you guys are performing, tell me if this understanding is correct, is that these respiratory companies, and again, we're talking equipment here, guys, they serve some sort of local market, and you're basically buying these companies in order to operate in that market and serve those customers. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's a lot of barrier of entry in that to get into new states for commercial insurance contracts. So we feel that this is an economical way, and that to deploy our capital, and that is to buy some of these companies and then expand around the geographical states that they're currently in to capitalize on those commercial insurance contracts.
Okay. And then when you talk about the other type of acquisition, more of these transformative, larger size deals, tell me a little bit about that. Like what would that mean for the business? What type of a deal would that be, et cetera?
Yeah, so something like that would probably be 30 million plus in revenue. That would be very material in that to growing our revenue, also growing our EBITDA. We feel that those companies are out there. We've got the balance sheet to support bringing one of those onto our platform and that, so we're pretty excited about it.
Okay. A couple other things that I want to ask about from the press release, and guys, anybody who has questions in the chat, drop them in. Again, this symbol is QIPT. But you talked about use of technology. Can you tell us a little bit about the status of technology with these respiratory businesses, either before you buy them or just the broader market as a whole, and then how technology is leveraged within the business?
Yeah, sure. So when you talk about this, the highly fragmented market out there with over 6,000 quote mom and pop type providers out there, they've really made no investments inside technology when it comes from onboarding patients. So there's a lot of tech that we utilize in that to remove the friction points to order this equipment, along with the ongoing monitoring and compliance, and that in order to get these patients compliant on these respiratory devices such as CPAP devices, ventilators. And we're utilizing a lot of remote monitoring to do that, which ultimately is driving that 11% organic growth in that we're seeing as physicians are seeing that we're reducing hospitalizations and the patients are benefiting in that from our clinical services. Okay.
And let's talk about Delta variant a bit. Of course, COVID, respiratory issue. Does that have any impact, either positive or negative, on the business?
Yeah, so it's been both. We've seen positive in certain product categories where we continue to see a high demand for our home oxygen therapy, especially in the Southeast right now. We've got a heavy presence there in that. We typically will see a lull in the summer months for our oxygen therapy in that, but that's continued to be very, very strong in that through the summer months here. As far as COVID, I think the big picture for that is that we need to be thinking about the long haulers and that what does that really look like and what kind of potential opportunity and that could be out there, and that as these patients and that end up developing long-term lung disease and things like that we may have devices that those patients could benefit from. Still early to tell, but likely in that we have some type of device in that to help these long haulers.
Okay, and good question coming out of the chat. Are you providing oxygen, or are you providing the oxygen producing devices, or some mix of the two?
So typically in that we provide what's called an oxygen concentrator. So that actually makes the oxygen, but we also provide tanks too. It just depends on that particular patient and what type of modality they need.
All right. And let me ask one more. And I didn't know this one before we spoke previously, but you had a name change recently from ProTech Home Medical to Quipt Home Medical.
Yes.
I'm curious about the name change. What inspired it? Where did Quipt come from, et cetera?
Yeah. So we felt like when we most recently listed on the NASDAQ, we had a lot of acquisitions, and that we acquired. We were starting to kind of stumble over ourselves in certain markets. So we decided it was a good time in that to change the name. We kind of chose Quipt as we equip you for life, and also enriching lives. So we're pretty excited about potentially changing some of our brand names right now as we build a national presence.
Excellent. And another question out of the chat. I don't entirely know what this one means, but you might know. But do you work with HDSN for filling oxygen? I don't know what HDSN is.
Yeah, I'm not real sure.
Okay. All right, we gave it a go. Sorry, Josh Pitts. We tried for you. All right, Greg, and let me finish it up with the same question that I asked you last time. If you had to name just one thing that you are most excited about looking forward for the company, what would that be?
The acquisition opportunities. We have a lot of opportunity for acquisition out there. We've got the balance sheet to support that, so we expect to have a busy second half of the year, also going into the first part of 2022. And also, I think the continued financial performance in that we've had like 12 consecutive quarters of 20+% EBITDA. So we've been very consistent.
When you say 20% EBITDA, is that EBITDA margin, or are you talking about EBITDA growth?
EBITDA margin.
Okay. Yep. Excellent. And shout out to Born to Be Free in the chat, saying they use Pro Tech for his mother-in-law, and it was a great service. Good to hear. Awesome. All right, Greg. We appreciate you coming on. You guys have certainly been busy. We didn't talk about the number of customers, but I think it was somewhere from the 30,000s mark to the 60,000s mark on a year-over-year basis in terms of the customers you served.
Yes, we've added about 35,000 new customers just over the past 60 days or so. We've done 4 acquisitions. Post our NASDAQ listing and that, we got really busy. We had a good pipeline sitting there waiting once that was behind us. So we're pretty excited. So we've added also an additional about $11 million in revenue over the past 60 days. Awesome. All right, Greg. I appreciate you hopping on with us. Stay busy doing those deals. We will stay on the lookout. And ZingerNation, all you watching out there, when we get news on Quipt, we will make sure to cover it on the show. We're seeing a lot of love for the stock in the chat. So Greg, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to tell us about the story. Have a great day. You too. Bye. All right, AB, I'm throwing you back in. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like Mr. Crawford said about how many customers they've added just over the past couple of months. I think with this most recent surge in COVID Delta variant, that it looks like they could continue to acquire a lot of customers.
Absolutely. And NCal's saying our interviews need to be longer. So next time we'll have to think of more questions for Greg. But I love the play, sort of being that platform that consolidates it. I think Greg threw it out as there's 6,000 mom and pop shops out there, and they're taking the stab at being the consolidator for the industry. I would imagine that there's a lot of efficiencies that could come into play there. So absolutely interesting.
Yeah, and I think the industry of home medical care is just going to continue to grow as the technology advances and more devices become available and easy to use for customers. So definitely good to get in on some emerging industries like that early.
Absolutely. And all right, producer AB, you have your next interview coming up in a second here, but I think we have time for a couple ideas, and let's just recap. We talked about some trade opportunities today, specifically NFT stocks. We talked about some of these other high flyers that seem to be coming back in vogue a little bit. I want to check in on Doximity. That was one that we threw out yesterday as a potential swing trade. Here's the 1-year chart, daily candles, or I guess it's not a year, because the stock just went public maybe 3 months ago or something along those lines. The stock did break above those previous highs and is continuing higher. That said, the stock is sitting in the middle of its range for today. So the Doximity trade, I'm a little bit mixed on it at this point. If anybody did swing trade this one, you probably made a couple dollars per share. But because the stock is struggling intraday a little bit today, because we had the NASDAQ bounce off of those all-time highs, it makes me a little bit nervous on the swing trade side of things. Producer AB, I wanted to throw this one out there for you and see if you had any opinions on that Doximity swing trade. And I can zoom us in here. Here's the 5-day chart there.
Yeah, definitely, Luke. And then for anyone out there that's a fan of the show, they know that we had CFO Anna Bryson on the day of the company's IPO. So that was an exciting interview. But yeah, just looking at the chart, Luke, it does look like we had some consolidation there for a few weeks, and now we're breaking out. It looks like there's some strength there. So I do not mind this as a swing trade at all. Definitely add to the watch list. We'll keep an eye on it. And then real quick, I see Kira in the chat throwing out, Luke, new contender for stock pick of the year 2022 is EDR. I actually really like this stock. This is one usually on IPOs I sit on the sideline. But I bought this at the IPO and ended up let's see, what did it IPO'd at?
What else does Endeavor own? I know that it owns UFC.
So it's essentially like a talent agency. So I think they have a stake in some movie production. Here, let's go on Benzinga Pro and go to the overview and see. But I like it for the UFC side of things. I think UFC is going to continue to grow. People love to, watch UFC live, bet on UFC. I have friends now that are like super into UFC that 2-3 years ago never were into it. So that's just a sign to me that this is something that's going to be picking up traction. And again, I bought this at the IPO. I ended up selling it because I had like 20% gain on it in like less than a month. Let's see. I'm going to go back to so it IPO'd at about 25. It IPO'd basically where it's at now, and then went all the way up to around $32.
Wait. So Endeavor Group is a talent agency, like it represents actors and celebrities, but then it also owns UFC.
Correct. Yeah, and I think it's led by the show Entourage. You know the character Ari Gold?
No, I'm not a TV person. Maybe you know that.
I know that, but
I read books.
People out there in the chat know Ari Gold, know the Entourage show. That I think he's Ari Emanuel. That's who Ari Gold is based off of. Is the Endeavor CEO. So I think they just had a bunch of money and were like, hey, let's go out and buy a large stake in UFC.
All right, and check this one out. Chris Catchy in the chat. Benzinga's top reporter just dropped in a link to a story that I'm guessing he did on Benzinga, saying, here's the IPO, here's what you need to know about the company. So I guess we probably should be reading that rather than skimming aimlessly through this Wikipedia page right now.
Yeah, shout out Chris, always dropping the knowledge in the chat. And so here's the thing, Luke, my thesis on something like this is we've seen this stock at $32 in the market before. So what that tells me is that, investors in the past have valued this company that this is worth $32 a share. And I think a lot of people that bought at the IPO took profits up there because, like I said, in about a month, you could have had 25% profits from where the IPO was. So some people sold it. Then we're seeing some consolidation for the past month or so. But I think we're going to get back to that $32 mark share.
Yeah, and this is one that we need to understand more from a fundamental standpoint. So check out what I'm looking at with this name. So we see that there's a market cap of $6 billion. We go to our trusty Benzinga Pro. We see that the company is doing $1 billion a quarter of revenue, right? So that's $4 billion a year. The stock is trading at 1.5 times sales, which is like screwy. That suggests to me that revenue is maybe not real revenue to the company. Like, is that revenue maybe revenue which they earn on behalf of the athletes for which they're agents and they have to remit 80% of that to the athletes? I don't know. Something's weird there from a fundamental standpoint. But I think it's a very interesting stock to understand. So I'm going to drop this one out to the chat. If anybody really knows this stock well, Endeavor Group, we would love to have you on the show to talk about it. Give us the lowdown as to, how it operates, how we can understand the financials, what are the growth segments, are there segments that they're moving out of, etc.
Yeah, and Luke, I can reach out to the company as well, or maybe I'll reach out to.
There you go. Why don't we just do that? Bring the CEO onto the show.
Okay, I'll reach out, and then I also was thinking, what if we brought on like an analyst that has covered the stock for a firm or something? Say like, someone at Bernstein. Yeah, see which analysts have a
Yeah, I want
rating
to
on
see who
this.
covers it because it could be somebody that we're already friends with.
Brett Feldman at Goldman Sachs.
All right, let's bring him on. Let's bring on Brett.
All right, I'll reach out to Brett. But yeah, Luke, I agree that we do need to do a quick dig into the fundamentals, into the financials, but I'm looking at it more as a growth stock. As far as I think UFC is just going to continue to grow in popularity. So we'll see revenue coming from that side of the business. But yeah, this is one that we'll definitely need to explore more before we come up with our thesis one way or the other.
Excellent. And let me ask you this. What was oh God, we interviewed the CEO of a company who was building the UFC competitor.
Yeah. That was the, like the Fighting Championship League. When we interviewed them, at least they actually weren't public yet.
But they hinted at it or something. It was a really interesting company and an interesting story.
Yeah, I think it was PLL Pro or no.
We'll have to figure that one out.
Yeah,
and basically the thesis for building a UFC competitor was the sporting events have tons of demand, and there's something like 2,000 NBA games a year, but like 40 UFC events a year. And he's like, there's this massive supply and demand issue. And so we're going to build a UFC that has significantly more regular programming. And that was his take on it.
Yeah,
which, again, I think makes sense.
It was PFL, so I think it's the Professional Fighting League. And they had some interesting things with, if you recall, Luke, with like technology, like the cages themselves could,
it's like how fast you punch.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that measure the speed of a punch,
because it was a betting play too. It wasn't to measure the speed of the punch. It was to wager, is the fastest punch going to be over or under 50 miles an hour or something like that.
Yeah, so that was PFL. Yeah, Wayne got it in the chat. So definitely some cool technology as well as like gambling aspects coming out of PFL. But again, and I
see Internet Enforcers is saying, there won't be extensive growth for Endeavor based on UFC. It was already at market saturation, but then maybe the play for them, and this is a totally different business model, so I'm not suggesting this is what's happening, but maybe the play would be to do significantly more competitions, like the WWE. Great example. Didn't WWE always used to be 1 day a week? And then they had Monday Night Raw, and then they had a Thursday night thing, and a Friday night thing, and a Sunday event, and that sort of thing, where they just spun up the amount of programming that they've done.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw while we're on the topic of WWE, but CM Punk made a comeback the other night on I don't know if we have any wrestling fans in the chat, but that was kind of exciting.
Who?
CM Punk, he was a big WWE guy about like 10 years ago, and he had been away from the sport for a while, and he came back. It was a big deal on social media and stuff.
Okay, so he's like a punk rocker guy.
Yeah, he kind of got big for being like a anti
establishment.
Yeah, like he wouldn't listen to Vince, the guy in charge of WWE. He would kind of just do his own thing.
Remember when he and Donald Trump fought?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, Luke. Well, we do have our next guest waiting here, CEO of Loop Industries. So I'm excited to speak to Daniel, see what the deal is with the company. Luke, any last thoughts before you head out?
Nope. Take it away. All you, AB.
Beautiful. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and get my Benzinga Pro up on the screen. And while I'm doing that, I will go ahead and bring our next special guest on, Daniel Solomita. We find the... Daniel, how we doing?
Hey, not too bad. Yourself?
Good, good. Thank you for taking time out of your busy Tuesday to join us on the Benzinga PowerHour. Real quick, where are you joining us from today?
From Montreal, Canada.
Montreal, beautiful. Yeah, we're in Detroit, so we're not too far away from Canada.
Fantastic. Pleasure to meet you.
You as well. Real quick, for some of our viewers that may not be familiar with the company, can you just give us a quick elevator pitch on Loop Industries?
Yeah, so basically Loop Industries, we are revolutionizing the plastic manufacturing. So we sell plastic that goes into making PET plastic for packaging, such as water bottles, soda bottles, that type, shampoo containers. and polyester fiber for carpets and clothing. So it's really cutting out the fossil fuel industry and bringing in the circular economy. So it's like an advanced recycling technology. So we work with all the big CPG brand companies around the world, such as Danone, L'Oreal, supplying them with material.
Got it. So what is your background like? Like, how did you originally get into this industry?
My background is in computer engineering. So out of school, worked for Bell Canada for about 12 years and then left there. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I left there to take over a landfill remediation project in Greenwood, South Carolina, digging up an old nylon 6.6 landfill where they had dumped about 40 million pounds of nylon fiber in the ground in the 1960s and 70s. And so that material, into the 2000s was still fantastic quality, hadn't been degraded because it was buried underground. And so took over a project. We started excavating it, pulling out all that material from the ground, develop a little process to clean it up, and then selling it to compounders in Montreal, Canada, and Brownsville, Tennessee. And from there, that was my first foray into recycling and sustainability. And I thought that was an amazing deal. And then met a chemist who had the idea for our Generation 1 technology and started working with him back in 2014. And now it's 7 years later, and we've built an amazing technology ready to commercialize around the world.
Got it. Yeah, that's exciting. And I believe we had some, news. Maybe at this point it was a couple weeks ago. Was there like an acquisition, something along those lines?
We actually we brought in a large strategic investor and partner. So it's a strategic partnership with SK Global Chemical, a part of the SK Group, very large South Korean conglomerate, who's really looking at what the world is going to look like in 10 years from now and how that's going to translate into more sustainability in the circular economy. So they're very busy. They're one of the largest electric car battery manufacturers. They invested heavily into Plug on the hydrogen side, and they bought 10% of Loop to expand our technology across Asia. So they bought 10% ownership for $12 a share. And we're forming a partnership to start rolling out our technology across Asia, which starting in South Korea and then looking towards China, Japan, Vietnam, potentially Malaysia as other points. So the goal is for us to build out 4 facilities, have 400,000 tons of waste plastic and waste polyester recycled by 2030.
Got it. And then sorry, one sec. Let me get myself back on the screen. What else can investors kind of be looking forward to for the rest of 2021, maybe into 2022?
So we took the past 6-7 years perfecting the technology, building a pilot plant. Actually, it's more of a small production facility right here in Montreal, Quebec, where we're producing, 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, producing the monomers that go into making the PET resin, the polyester fiber. So we'll start supplying the marketplace with material from our mini facility here. And then it's all about global expansion. So we have a couple of projects underway. The Asian partnership with SK is obviously extremely important to us. It really has every element as an industrial technology company that you can ask for. Strong strategic partner in a part of the world where you have to really find the right partner to get in there. Asia is a little bit different than the US and Europe. So when we thought about going into Asia, we really wanted to make sure we had the right partnership, and SK provides all of those things for us. So strong strategic partner. They have the operating experience of running chemical plants. They're very knowledgeable in this industry. They provide all the debt financing for the facilities. So Loop doesn't have to, as a small company, you don't have to be responsible for guaranteeing any of the debt to put up the plants. So we only have to put up our portion of the equity. The joint venture pays us a royalty fee for our license. So we get a mid-single-digit licensing fee, which is fantastic. So we'll be getting licensing revenue from that partnership. So breaking ground on that facility sometime in 2022. We have a partnership with Suez, the large French waste management company, to build a plant in France. And so we're down to 2 sites, one in northern France, one in southern France. So we're going to be looking to finalize the site location pretty soon, coming up this fall. And then our flagship project is right here in Quebec, where we'll be building a facility in Bécancour, Quebec. It's about 90 minutes outside of Montreal. So the way we have it designed is it's like an engineering philosophy is design one, build many. So the same design that goes into the Quebec project is the same design going to be replicated in South Korea and in France. So that way we're able to replicate these things very quickly and get to market very quickly, because it's such a humongous market. And our product is really in high demand because it's the highest purity plastic coming from a waste source. So we're giving the brand owners the exact same quality that they get from the petroleum industry, but we're cutting out all the petroleum players and making the same product from waste plastic.
Yeah, that's incredible. And just is most of the actual product, like the plastic that you guys produce, is it mostly like harder plastic, like what you would find in for food containers and stuff? Are there any like more softer plastic products?
Yeah, so the plastic, we concentrate on two types of plastic. PET, which is the #1 used plastic for packaging, so water bottles, soda bottles, shampoo containers, mayonnaise, ketchup, that type of stuff. Salad trays, fruit cups, and also polyester fiber for clothing, carpets and clothing. So the polyester fiber and the PET for bottles are made with the exact same petrochemicals, DMT, dimethyl terephthalate, and MEG, monoethylene glycol. So those are the two base building blocks that go into making any of those products. So we start with like taking an old polyester shirt or a polyester carpet, and we can break that down into its base ingredients and then build that back up into a water bottle for one of our customers. So it really allows for more material to now be recycled. So yeah, taking carpets and clothing and turning it into water bottles is something really special. And that's why all of these, it's in very high demand.
Got it. Yeah, it might just be the recency bias, but I saw an article today where it's kind of like on topic, and it's reminding me of. I'm going to pull it up real quick. And essentially, it's an article from the New York Times saying how these cotton tote bags have become really popular as a way to avoid using plastic shopping bags. But the cotton tote bags themselves are actually very bad for the environment to produce. So essentially, they're saying that what could be a better option would be to use something like what you're doing and make a plastic reusable bag that wouldn't be so hard on the environment as these cotton tote bags. So I don't know if you guys are doing anything like that, but that could potentially be a cool little project.
Yeah, bags are a different type of plastic. They're generally made with LDPE, low density polyethylene. So that's a completely separate subset of plastics. But the whole premise is, you think sometimes you get these alternative products, but they're not. Plastic is a really great product at the end of the day. It allows so many benefits to society. Clothing, stuff, keeping us warm, clothing, that's really important. Food packaging, being able to keep food longer in our refrigerators rather than having them go bad very quickly. It's all because of the plastic packaging. So plastic is so useful. It helps lightweight cars and airplanes to save efficiencies. So those things are really important to the marketplace. What you have to do is create the proper afterlife. And this is where, create the proper ecosystem that allows for those plastic containers to get back into the system. People have to do the job of putting it into the recycling bins. Municipalities and the private sector have to collect those, sort them, and then get them back to us so that we can recycle those fully. So that's really, there's a lot of players in there, but creating that ecosystem is really important. And I think that most governments around the world are starting to move that way. So if you look at what's happening in Europe, they're really focusing, putting the onus of recycling onto the brand owners, where they're making the brand owners be responsible for paying for that infrastructure, what happens to the package after life, instead of getting it from the taxpayers. So it's a real shift that's coming. We're shifting away from fossil fuels and into the circular economy. So it's definitely an industry that's at the very nascent, very beginning of this industry, and it's going to have large tailwinds for many years to come.
100%. Yeah, Daniel, that was kind of why I had asked before I brought up the bag thing about if there were any like softer plastics that y'all are producing, because obviously it'd be hard to make a tote bag out of the type of plastic that's a soda bottle or water bottle. But real quick, I got the chart pulled up again. The ticker is LOOP. That's traded on the NASDAQ. Daniel, I see back in June the stock ran all the way up to $18. Was there anything in particular that you think was driving that run? I mean, we're back down to $9 here. So about 50% off those highs.
That was the announcement of the SK deal. So the SK deal was for $56.5 million at $12 a share. After we announced the deal, a little bit of a short squeeze. So there was some short players that squeezed out of there. It bumped up to 18.5, and then it just started drifting back down. I think one of the things is with our company is we've spent the past 6-7 years really focusing, zeroing in on the technology and building our small production facility here in Quebec. What we've never done is really go out there in a big way as a public company, doing a lot of, because we never really raised a huge amount of money from institutional investors. Our largest, our shareholders were all came on board either as a strategic partner like SK or as a friends and family type introduction. And so we never got out there. We don't have a lot of banks covering us with research or anything of that nature. So it's kind of, that's where, big news sometimes gets misinterpreted in the marketplace, or people don't hear about the story. And so you don't have that stock support.
Got it. I do see some good questions coming out of the chat, Daniel. We are running out of time, so we're going to do a quick lightning round of these questions. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. How soon does your product start to break down?
So we want to break down, right? So our finished product doesn't break down. We break down the waste plastic. It takes about 3 hours to break down the entire, let's say, 5 tons of plastic in a reactor. The reaction time is about 3 hours. Got it.
How about, is your technology different from competitors, and how much is the recycling part of the technology?
So our recycling technology is extremely different from competitors. Depolymerization, the concept of depolymerization has been around for 60 years. There's 3 forms: methanolysis, hydrolysis, and glycolysis. All of those technologies, why they've never been successful at commercial scale, is because they all used high heat and high pressure to be able to break down the plastic. And that's really where Loop is so different than everyone else, and why everyone's so excited about our technology, is because we do everything at very low temperature. And because it's done at low temperature, it allows us to have very high processing yields, very high purity of the monomers, and it allows us, at the end of the day, you're dealing with a waste stream. So all of the material coming in, you're never going to have a perfect stream of just PET plastic or polyester fiber. You're going to have mixes. So in the fiber side, you'll have mixes of like nylon or cotton, metal zippers. So all those different materials, once you use high temperature, you're going to have a lot of problems breaking that back down again, because there's going to be a lot of contamination. That's why our low temperature depolymerization is the key.
Got it. Yeah. I see another question about for another one from NCal, asking about the pile of plastic that's floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, now that our technology is going to commercial scale, that's definitely where people bringing that material on board, we can be processing that material for them and breaking it down. And that's a perfect example of the type of material that we can handle. That plastic's been sitting in the salt water, degrading in the sunlight. So it's a degraded plastic that a technology like Loops is needed to be able to recycle that. Not only recycle it, but upcycle it. So turn it into the highest value plastic.
Wow. Yeah. It's very exciting. Well, thank you, Daniel, for coming on the Power Hour today. I know you're taking time out of your busy Tuesday to join us. So we thank you for coming on and answering some of our questions. And we look forward to having you back on anytime the company has news that you'd like to come on and talk about.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No problem. Enjoy your day.
All right. Thanks.
All right, y'all. That was Daniel Solomita, the CEO of Loop Industries, ticker LOOP. I see a few things in the chat we got to monitor real quick. Happy Muhammad is saying Lucid's taking off. Let's check that out real quick. Wow, up almost 6%. I saw someone else say RIP Charlie Watts. I just did a quick Google search confirming that the Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts has died at the age of 80. Very sad news there. I don't know if he was still performing with the band, but I know that Rolling Stones is set to actually come here to Detroit in a few weeks. So definitely some sad news there. I don't know if we have any details on it or not. But real quick, we got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to bring on a very special guest, Ben from Story Trading. He's been on the show before, pitched us AEHR as well as SMSI. We're going to do some quick check-ins on those stocks. So without further ado, welcome, Ben.
Welcome. How you doing, producer AB? You ready to wake up?
I'm ready to wake up. I know I just had to get through some of that sad news, but neither here nor there. We're here to talk about stocks. Let's get to it.
All right, excellent. I did originally plan on presenting a new stock, but because there was news in air today, we're not going to be able to do that. I will say it's related to the digital health space. You talked about Quipt and Doc, so I'm very interested in the digital health space. It's a top 5 pick for me over the past year. So hopefully there's an upcoming catalyst on the stock. We don't have time to go through it today. Hopefully it can come back maybe later this week because the catalyst might come any day. So we'll have to do that another day. First, we need to talk about Air news this morning and SMSI. There was a nugget. So let me just share my screen real quick here and we'll get into that.
Beautiful. Yep. Pulling it up right now. And yeah, I like the little tease there. We will get you back on to pitch that, other stock when we have some time, maybe later this week or next week. But yeah, I don't know if you heard us earlier when we were talking about Quipt, but I mentioned too that I think that industry is just going to continue to grow. So it's always good to get in those industries early on.
Yeah, and actually Quipt CEO Greg Crawford is going to be at Story Trading tomorrow at 4:30 for our VIP community, for anyone who wants to do a dig deeper and ask him some private questions. So, okay, anyway, disclaimer, Story Trading is not an investment advisor. Investing in securities involves significant risk of loss. You all know about Story Trading. You can go to our website to sign up for the app. So Air last close yesterday, 583. I think it's around 595 now, or 138 million market cap. Now, what happened today? They got a new EV order. It was a smaller order, $3 million. But I think it's significant in that it's validation. These orders keep coming in. So people who are on the fence will see that the orders are continuing. It's validation for people who are on the fence about this. I also called the CEO this morning, right after the news came out, to get a little bit more color on what type of order this is. And, one of the things that was discussed, he was on Story Trading a couple weeks ago, and there was talk about what about other sectors besides EV? And there was kind of he misspoke, or there was a misinterpretation that, them getting into silicon photonics would be delayed till 2023. And he said that's absolutely not true. They expect orders this year in silicon photonics, in addition to all the EV growth. He was just focused on EV because it's so hot now and it's exploding right now. So that's all I have to say is get used to it. Look at the chart here. This chart here, just on Friday and Monday, I was telling my community, this is the perfect time for news to hit on AEHR because it just crossed over the 20 DMA. And now I think that 20 DMA is going to be strong support on stock. The RSI is still low. So I'm excited about the continuing trend on Air. Any questions on that? You want to pause there before we touch on SMSI?
Yeah, let's give the chat a second to, there's a little lag there, so they might have some questions about AEHR before we hop to SMSI. I'm seeing someone talking about Doge in the chat, saying Dogecoin's down about 10%. Crypto does that. Crypto goes up, it comes down, it goes back up. I wouldn't make too much of that right now. Baba, of course, has been having a great day. But yeah, Ben, let's go ahead and get over to SMSI. If we get some questions about AHR, we can always come back.
And I just want to know, I found this morning that AHR short interest has exploded from basically nothing to 6%. So there's over 1 million shares short. So I think they're going to be proven wrong, and that'll add fuel to the fire as this continues to go up. So SMSI, we got an update for you. Last close yesterday, 504. Looks like it's 498 now, around 270 million market cap. I told you the story before. I'm not going to go through it, just here to highlight that if you do your proper research, you can explain market price action, which is what we're trying to do here. So last time, what we did, see, the stock went down. It spiked at 640. It went down. So what happened? When we were here last time, we talked about a representative at SMSI coming on and saying they're going to sign a tier 1 carrier to their Drive product, right? And we speculated it might be T-Mobile Drive. They said it would happen at the end of the month. It was on audio. Well, guess what? It didn't happen on time at the end of the month, okay? But we also said they also said others are to follow. And we know based on the relationship, it's Boost, Verizon, and AT&T. So what happened? Last Thursday, we found out that Verizon did an app update and it included this Drive feature. I tweeted about it here on my personal Twitter. If you go, it's Verizon Smart Family. So this is actually a SMSI product already, Verizon Smart Family, which they inherited from their acquisition of Location Labs. And what happened with this app update, they are putting in this new product. It's called the Drive, right? Safe Path Drive. And you can see here with the screenshots, view your child's driving report to monitor driving patterns. Now, this is very, very important for those who are following the company closely, because what this means is that Verizon has made a decision very clearly here to upgrade their product from the old Locations Lab product to the new SafePath 7.0 product, which was the product that SMSI made in-house. And that's extremely important because that means the contract terms are going to get much better. They're going to most likely be paid a dollar amount for each user who signs up. It's not like a flat license fee. So this is a huge, gigantic opportunity with Verizon coming out and making this app update. I expect them over the next few weeks to begin marketing this, perhaps making an announcement about this drive feature in Smart Family. And that explains the price action here. It went down because people were disappointed that it wasn't announced on time at the end of the month. And now it's going back up because some people are in the know, no PR yet. So some people are in the know that this Verizon Drive feature is coming out. And by the way, T-Mobile's still in play. I think it's very likely they may get all the big carriers to sign up for SafePath 7. And the people who do the fundamentals on this stock believe this stock can go much, much higher, 10, 20, 30 bucks in the cards. This is a technical update from Rexman 74. You can see the channel here. It's at the bottom of the channel. He made a point the upper fours were long-term monthly trend supports. Has tweeted about SMSI a lot lately, so you might want to follow him. I think he's very bullish on it. So that's the update on SMSI. So with that, I'm not going to get into the other stock, but we'll talk about that soon.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I know, originally when we brought up SMSI, we were looking for that catalyst. It came about a week or two later. And I do like the notion, the idea that we could see some more of these big carriers. We saw T-Mobile. So whether that be AT&T come in or one of these other big players come in. So definitely some catalysts on the horizon there. My only question, I guess, for SMSI is what does the technology offer as far as like the tracking of driving going that you can't just do by, say, tracking your kid's phone?
That's a great question. And really the value in here and the reason SMSI is making great money and they will make a lot more money is because they have the relationships with the carriers. There's plenty of people who are, if they're savvy with technology, they can go get other apps, free apps. They can use features within the iPhone that's already existing to track certain things. But when you go to a store, you go to a T-Mobile, you go to Sprint, or not Sprint anymore, you go to Verizon and you're buying a phone and they try to upsell you on family safety, a large percentage of the population are not that savvy. And if they have an opportunity right in front of them to buy something, an additional $5 or $10 a month, particularly moms who are, taking care of their kids, these add-ons sell, right? They really sell. So the proprietary technology here that SMSI has is the integration with the carrier backend. That's something that's very specialized that none of the other competition does. And they have these, relationships sealed up. So yeah, there are other products out there, but the fact of the matter is when Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile are selling these, a certain percentage of people will buy it. And that's the story.
Got it. Well, yeah, thank you, Ben, for hopping on the show today, giving us a quick update on AHR and SMSI. Like I said, I'm excited to have you back on to hear the new stock pitch. You kind of teased it. It's in the.
If you can guess what it is, I'm curious to watch some guesses there.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's in the medical technology space.
Digital health, yeah.
Digital health. That's the phrase I was looking for. It's in digital health. So if you guys have any ideas, throw them in the chat. But yeah. Oh, NCal, real quick before you go. NCal's asking for a price target for SMSI.
Personally, I don't have a price target on this one. I'm just following the chart. If you look at the channel that Rex put up, it looks like it could go over 10, 12 bucks. But this is a show me stock, I believe. The catalysts and the press releases may be opportunities to sell the stock when they happen. So I might lighten the load when there's press releases and catalysts. And then as the fundamentals hit, the stock will go even higher. So personally, I'm just going to take a little bit off the table as each of these little milestones are reached.
Beautiful. All right, Ben. Well, thank you again for hopping on the Power Hour today. I'll be in contact with you about whenever you're ready to come give us that stock pitch, because I'm ready for it. I'm sure the rest of ZingerNation is. But
good.
Ben, have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you. You too.
All right, y'all. We have Get Technical coming up right now. I will be hanging out there with Neil. We got a very special guest, Sylvia Bellrock, coming on as she does every Tuesday at 1:30. We're going through some high flyer stocks today. I'm talking Baba. I'm talking Airbnb. I'm talking Robinhood. So do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. Get technical starting right now. This stream will automatically direct you there. You don't need to go anywhere. Just click the little play button on your YouTube and hang out with Neil and I.